Chibundu was a man of humble background. He grew up in a small town in Enugu where life was simple but not always easy. Despite his struggles, he worked hard and eventually secured a stable job as a clerk. He was not wealthy, but he was content. The one thing that brought him the most joy was his relationship with Sochi Kaima, the love of his life. Sochi Kaima was a beautiful and kind-hearted woman who had always stood by him through thick and thin. Their love story was one of admiration in the community. When Chibundu finally gathered the means to marry, he wasted no time in making Sochi Kaima his wife. Their wedding was a modest but joyful occasion, attended by friends and families who celebrated their love. The couple started their new life with excitement, dreaming of a future filled with happiness and children. Sochi Kaima was the perfect wife, gentle, loving, and always supportive. Chibundu believed he had found a woman who would stand beside him forever. Their home was filled with laughter and warmth. They enjoyed simple pleasures like cooking together, taking evening strolls, and sharing stories about their day. They had their challenges, but their love and commitment always saw them through. Chibundu felt blessed to have Sochi Kaima as his partner in life. A year into their marriage, Sochi Kaima became pregnant. The news brought them immense joy, and they eagerly prepared for the arrival of their child. "I know our child would look like me," Chibundu teased her one day. "No, never. The child will be my replica," Sochi Kaima said. "Let's see then." Chibundu looked at her with a smile, as though he was certain. Chibundu worked hard to ensure that his wife was comfortable, that they had everything needed for the baby. Sochi Kaima, in turn, took extra care, eager to meet their baby. The pregnancy was smooth, and Sochi Kaima glowed with happiness. Chibundu was a doting husband, always attentive to her needs. He accompanied her to doctors' antenatal visits, ensured she ate well, and never let her lift a finger. Their love blossomed as they anticipated the birth of their child. However, life had its own plans. The day of delivery came, and what was meant to be a joyful occasion turned into a nightmare. Sochi Kaima suffered severe complications during childbirth. She lost a lot of blood, and despite the doctor's best efforts, she did not survive. Chibundu was shattered. He held their newborn daughter in his arms, but his heart ached for his wife, the love of his life, who was gone forever. The joy of fatherhood was overshadowed by the grief of losing Sochi Kaima. Chibundu could not understand how fate could be so cruel. He named his daughter Kambili, meaning "let me live," a desperate plea for her to survive in the absence of her mother. But deep inside, he wondered if he had the strength to raise her alone. The days following Sochi Kaima's passing were unbearable. The house that once echoed with laughter was now filled with silence and sorrow. Chibundu could barely function, unable to process his loss. The responsibility of caring for a newborn baby overwhelmed him. Sometimes he would hide in the covers of the night and cry his eyes out, wishing Sochi Kaima was alive. His mother and a few family members stepped in to help. They took turns in caring for Kambili, feeding her and making sure she was healthy. But they knew this arrangement could not last forever. Chibundu needed to be both a father and a mother to his daughter. But he was drowning in grief. His family began urging him to remarry. At first, he refused. The thought of another woman in his home felt like a betrayal to Sochikaima. He wanted no one else, only the woman he had loved and lost. But as months passed, the reality of his single parenthood set in. He struggled to balance work and childcare. He saw how much his aged mother had to sacrifice to help him. He knew he could not do it alone. Reluctantly, he opened his heart to the idea of marriage, not for love, but for the sake of his daughter. His mother arranged a woman for him to marry. Her name was Adaku. Adaku was a young woman from Chibundu's mother's village. She was well-mannered, hardworking, and had a kind heart. She had lost her own parents at a young age and understood what it meant to survive without a parent's love. When Chibundu's family approached her with a marriage proposal, she agreed without hesitation. She knew the marriage was not built on love, but she was ready to give her all to the marriage and to care for Chibundu's baby like her own child. She hoped that in time, her husband would come to accept her. Chibundu, however, remained distant. He was polite but cold. He did not mistreat Adaku, but he did not offer her affection either. He saw her only as a caregiver for his daughter, nothing more. Adaku did not let his actions discourage her. She focused on her new role, making sure Kambili was well taken care of. She cooked, cleaned, and provided the child with motherly love she needed. Sometimes, when Kambili would cry non-stop, Adaku would give Kambili her breast to suckle to pacify her and make her feel the warmth of a mother. "Stop crying, my baby," she would say as Kambili suckled her breast. Though she was not lactating, but it made Kambili calm, gazing into Adaku's eyes. One fateful day, Chibundu had returned from work when he walked in on Adaku, giving her breast to Kambili to suckle. Chibundu flew into a rage. "You want to kill my son? You witch!" he said as he dragged the baby from her hands. Adaku swallowed hard. "But I, he immediately cut her short. "Never in your life feed my baby with that your dry, miserable breast. If you do, I will make sure to throw you out of my house," he said. Tears filled Adaku's eyes, but she blinked back, holding back her tears. "I am sorry," she said softly. "It won't repeat itself again. Better, sorry for yourself," he yelled back at her. Despite her husband's coldness, Adaku remained kind and patient. Adaku quickly realized that any Chibudu's trust would be a challenge. He watched her closely, always expecting her to mistreat Kambili whenever she was alone with the child. He found excuses to check on them even while it was his work hours. He did not acknowledge the love and care she showed his daughter. Adaku understood his fears. Probably he had heard too many stories of stepmothers who mistreat children who were not theirs. Adaku thought to herself, giving him benefits of doubts. But she knew she had to prove herself, not through words, but through actions. Adaku continued to care for Kambili with all her heart, even when Chibundu barely acknowledged her presence. She hoped that one day he would see that she meant no harm. Months passed, and Adaku's love for Kambili only grew stronger. She treated the girl as if she were her own flesh and blood. Kambili too began to warm up to her stepmother, feeling the warmth and care that Adaku provided. However, Chibudu's attitude did not change. He remained skeptical, always watching for signs of cruelty. He could not allow himself to believe that Adaku was different. Despite this, Adaku did not complain. She endured it all with patience, determined to love the child no matter what. As Kambili grew, she became a spitting replica of her late mother, Sochikaima. She noticed how much her father loved her. She realized that she could get away with anything because her father would always take her side. Sometimes she took advantage of this by lying about Adaku, knowing her father would believe her. She did not give me food, she said one day to her father, crying. Chibundu flew into a rage. How dare you starve my daughter, he said. My love, is that what she told you? She told me she wasn't ready to eat yet, and I asked her to rinse the cup she used in taking tea for breakfast, but she refused. But before Adaku could continue explaining, he butt in. Oh, you have turned my daughter to your slave, right? Isn't that what all you stepmothers are known for? Let me warn you. You don't dare. It will never happen to my precious daughter. Else, if you try it, I will skin you alive, he said to her in Kambili's defense. Each time, Chimbudu confronted Adaku over false accusation from Kambili, but Adaku remained silent. She did not bother defending herself anymore, as she already knew her husband would defend his daughter. She only continued to love and care for Kambili, hoping that one day the truth will be clear. Kambili, feeling her father's deep love, started testing the limits of his love. Whenever she wanted to avoid a chore or gain sympathy, she would falsely accuse Adaku of being mean to her. Chibundu believed her without any question, hook, line, and sinker. Adaku was hot, but she did not fight back. One day, Adaku's friend came visiting and saw what was going on. She became really furious at Adaku. Adaku, I thought you are smart. How can you allow that small child control your home? If I were you, I will deal with her and show her that I am truly her stepmother. And then let me see where she will have the courage to misbehave. Adaku looked at her friend, but she is only a child. I don't think she knows what she is doing. Ah, Adaku, you are a big fool. She's only a child and she keeps lying to her father about you. Shine your eyes. That night, Adaku could not sleep. The thought of what her friend said kept ringing on her mind. But Adaku told herself that Kambili was just a child and that one day Kambili would see her for the love she has for her. Kambili continued to test Adaku, and each time Adaku remained patient, even when Chibundu scolded her unfairly. However, the emotional burden grew heavier each day. She longed for a moment of appreciation from her husband, a sign that he saw the effort she put into their home. But the moment never came, as her husband would remind her that he married her to take care of his daughter and never promised her love. As the years passed by, Adaku remained steadfast in her role as Kambili's stepmother. However, Adaku's only wish was to have a child of her own. But after years of trying, she could not conceive. Yet, she never stopped praying for a miracle, all while enduring the pain and rejection and the loneliness from her husband Chibundu. As Kambili grew older, she began to see Adaku's sacrifices and love. She started feeling guilty for the lies she had told in the past. After 10 years of marriage, Adaku had not conceived. Despite her deep love for Kambili, she longed for a child of her own. She prayed fervently, asking God to bless her womb. But as time passed, Chibudu's family started questioning why she had not given him a son. To make matter worse, Chibundu, her husband too, began to mock Adaku's barrenness. He stunk deeper than she could imagine. So, if my late wife had not borne me a child, I would have been childless by now. God bless her soul. Those words sent chills down Adaku's spine. She blamed God for shutting her womb. What wrong have I done? Why have you decided not to hear my cry and give me a child? Why do you allow people to mock me and shame me, even my own husband? She said in tears. Still, Adaku would clean her eyes, enduring the pain and reproach, hoping that one day things would change. One fateful day, tragedy struck. Chibundu went to work, but he was involved in a ghastly car accident on his way home from work, and Chibundu died in the auto crash. The news hit Adaku like a thunderbolt. Her husband was gone, and her world crumbled around her. Chibundu's family had long been watching Adaku, waiting for a reason to push her out. When Chibundu died in the tragic car accident, they saw their chance. They accused her of bringing misfortune to their son's life, using her childlessness an excuse to throw her out of the house. She pleaded, but her cries fell on deaf ears. "You can't stay here. You have no place here. You did not give our brother Chibundu a child." "But I have Kambili," she said calmly. "Ta!" one of the men said. "Is Kambili your child?" "No, she is your husband's child, and she's even a girl. So you have no place here anymore." And so they sent her packing. Homeless and without support, Adaku took Kambili with her as she left, as none of Chimbudu's family members showed interest in taking care of Kambili. Determined to survive, they wandered from place to place, seeking shelter where they could. Adaku refused to give up. One day, a woman named Nne walked up to her, offering to give her a job as a cleaner. Nne was a owner of a cleaning agency. With the help of the woman, Adaku was able to get jobs cleaning restaurants, malls at a fee. Adaku's only concern was ensuring that Kambili had food and a place to sleep. Their lives were hard, but Adaku remained strong. She believed that one day things would change. After a while, Adaku was posted to clean a house. The house was beautiful, with marble floors and beautiful chandeliers. Adaku was fascinated by how big and beautiful the house was. Adaku began working at the residence of Mr. Obiora, a wealthy businessman. She took the job seriously, arriving early each day and ensuring his house was spotless. She carried herself with dignity, despite the struggle she faced. Often, she brought Kambili along, and the young girl would sit quietly doing her school homework while her stepmother worked. Adaku wiped sweat from her brows as she scrubbed the floor of Obiora's house. Her body ached from exhaustion, but she knew she had no choice. Kambili needed food, and this was the only way to provide for her. "Kambili, come here," she called softly, and the girl ran to her side. "Yes, Mama," Kambili said, her big eyes filled with concern. "Are you hungry?" Adaku asked, as she brushed a stray of coins from Kambili's forehead. Kambili nodded. Adaku sighed and reached into her pockets, pulling out a small wrapped biscuit. "Eat this. I will get us something proper when we leave." Just then, the voice of a man startled her. "Madam, you work too hard." She turned around and saw a tall, well-dressed man watching her. He had kind eyes and a warm smile. "I do what I must," she said cautiously. "Hard work is all I know." Obiora studied her for a moment before speaking. "You are different from the others who have worked here. You are diligent, and I respect that." Adaku only nodded, not sure how to respond. "If you ever need anything, let me know," he added before walking away. Obiora quickly took notice of Adaku's dedication. Unlike other workers, she had never complained, never slacked, and treated his home as if it were her own. He found himself impressed by her resilience. Over time, they developed a cordial relationship, one built on mutual respect. Adaku never sought pity or help. She simply did her job and left at the end of the day. However, after months of dedicated work, Adaku suddenly stopped showing up. Obiora, worried by her absence, inquired from the cleaning agency, and then he discovered she had fallen seriously ill. Without hesitation, he decided to visit her. When Obiora arrived at the small room Adaku shared with Kambili, he was shocked at the sight before him. Adaku, the strong and resilient woman he had come to respect, lay weak and frail on the bed. Kambili was by her side, doing her best to care for her mother. Without a second thought, Obiora rushed Adaku to the hospital. He covered all her medical expenses and ensured she received the best care possible. During her stay at the hospital, Obiora spent time with Kambili, and then that was when he discovered that Kambili was not Adaku's biological daughter. The revelation surprised him, as he had assumed the bond between them was that of a mother and child. Seeing how much Adaku had sacrificed for Kambili moved him deeply. He admired her even more and decided that he would do everything in his power to help her get back on her feet. Once she was well enough to leave the hospital, he invited her and Kambili to stay at his home until she was fully recovered. At first, Adaku was hesitant about staying at Obiora's home. She did not want to be a burden or seem like she was taking advantage of his kindness. But with no other option and Kambili's well-being at stake, she agreed, living under the same roof. Obiora saw firsthand the kindness and strength that defined Adaku. She was not just hardworking, she was selfless and full of love. She treated Kambili as if she were her own and never letting the hardship of life harden her heart. Slowly, something changed in Obiora. A man who had once given up on love found himself drawn to Adaku. He admired her, respected her, and before he realized, he loved her. Obiora had lost his wife 5 years into their marriage to cancer, and ever since the demise of his wife, he had given up on love and women. He focused on his business as a way to distract himself, but now his heart was yearning for Adaku's love. But Obiora was afraid to express his feelings. He did not want to scare her away, nor did he want her to think he was being kind just because he had romantic intentions. However, love has a way of making itself known. One evening, as they sat at the gazebo watching Kambili play in the garden, Obiora turned to Adaku and for the first time voiced his admiration for her. He spoke of her strength, her kindness, and the way she had changed his life. Adaku, overwhelmed by emotions, remained silent, unsure of what to say. Deep inside, she had grown fond of Obiora, but after all she had been through in the past, she was afraid to open her heart again. And beside, they were not of the same class. They live in two separate worlds, she thought to herself. Despite Adaku's initial hesitation, Obiora did not give up. He continued to show her kindness, not with grand gesture, but a small, meaningful ways. He made sure she never had to struggle again. But more importantly, Obiora gave her the respect, the affection she had long been denied. Kambili, who had grown to love Obiora as a father figure, was the first to notice the change between them. She encouraged Adaku to give love a chance, reminding her that She deserved happiness too. With time, Adaku's fears began to fade. She realized that love did not have to be painful, that she did not have to beg for affection or suffer in silence. Obiora was different. And for the first time in many years, Adaku allowed herself to love and hope again. When Obiora finally confessed his love and asked her to be his wife, she said yes. Their marriage was an elaborate one, unlike her first marriage that was just done in the living room. Unlike Adaku's first marriage that was filled with uncertainty, this one was built on love and mutual respect. Obiora did not just love her, he cherished her and respected her. Kambili was overjoyed. She stood proudly beside Adaku, happy to see her stepmother finally receive the love she deserved. With her new marriage came stability and peace. Adaku no longer had to struggle for survival, as Obiora had opened a big supermarket for her. But she never forgot her past. She continued to work hard and remained humble, teaching Kambili the value of perseverance and kindness. A year into their marriage, Adaku discovered she was pregnant. After years of believing she would never bear a child, she saw this as a miracle. When she shared the news with Obiora, he was overwhelmed with joy as his first marriage did not have any child. Her pregnancy was not just a blessing for her, but for Kambili as well. Despite being a teenager, Kambili embraced the news with excitement. She had always longed for a sibling, and now her family was growing. Throughout the pregnancy, Obiora was by Adaku's side, ensuring she was cared for in every possible way. Unlike her first experience with marriage, she was not alone. She had a husband who loved her, a daughter who adored her, and a future filled with joy. When the baby arrived, it was a set of twin boys. They named the boys Akachi and Ukachi, meaning the hand of God and the plan of God. Holding her sons in her arms, Adaku felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Life had been cruel to her, but she had not let it break her. She had fought, endured, and in the end, she had won. Despite having children of her own, she never stopped loving Kambili. To her, Kambili was and would always be her first child. She continued to care for her, ensuring she lacked nothing. Obiora, too, treated both children equally, raising them with love and guiding them with wisdom together. They built a home filled with warmth, laughter, and peace. Adaku's journey had long been a painful one, but in the end, she found the happiness she had always deserved. And as she watched her children grow, she knew one thing was certain: love, kindness, and resilience would always triumph in the end. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching. Share your thoughts about the valuable lessons you have learned from this story in the comment section as we interact. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed for more interesting stories. Until I come your way again with another story, for now, from me, it is bye.